Hello everybody, welcome to Sir Chua's Accounting Lessons PH, and this is Lecture 3, Accounting Cycle for a Manufacturing Company, Journal Entries and Statement of Cost of Goods Manufactured and Sold. We are still at Cost Accounting and Control. At the end of the video, you should be able to differentiate the three different inventories of a manufacturing company, explain the flow of cost during the production process, prepare journal entries to record manufacturing transactions, and prepare a manufacturing company's statement of cost of goods manufactured and sold. Before anything else, please like, share, and subscribe to Sir Chua's Accounting Lessons PH and hit the notification bell button to alert you of the latest video lessons. For all of your questions, comments, and suggestions, please put them down in the comment section below. And for webinar and speakership invites, please send me a message at kevintroy.chua1994@gmail.com. Thank you for your utmost support for Sir Chua's Accounting Lessons PH, and thank you for making me your online learning partner. May these videos continue to help students in their online learning and academic development, and may these videos continue to help teachers in enhancing their lesson plans and teaching methodologies. Muli po sa lahat na nagsasubscribe at sa lahat po ng nagtitiwala at sumusuporta sa Sir Chua's Accounting Lessons PH, maraming salamat po sa inyong lahat. Credits po sa aking very hardworking student na gumagamit po ng Sir Chua's Accounting Lessons PH sa kanya pong lessons for cost accounting and control. Maraming salamat po sa inyong lahat. Okay, let's start our lesson for this session. The three kinds of inventories. According to paragraph 6 of IAS 2 or International Accounting Standards 2, the standard defines an inventory as follows. Inventories are assets that are held for sale in the ordinary course of business. So in the case of a merchandising company, we have the merchandise inventory, di ba? And then sa manufacturing company naman yung ating mga finished goods. And then it is also in the process of production for such sale. So pinoproduce pa lang pero baka hindi pa tapos, pero papunta na doon, di ba? Or in the form of materials or supplies to be consumed in the production process or in the rendering of services. So these inventories that are being described in IAS 2, how will we be able to apply it on a manufacturing perspective? Okay, the first one is raw materials inventory are the materials or supplies to be consumed in the production process to be transformed as completed goods. So raw materials inventory, like what I've told you in the previous lessons, di ba? Pagka tayo gumagawa ng teddy bear, yung tela at yung cotton ng teddy bear. Kapag ka po yung ating car manufacturing, yung steel, yung yung paggawa ng car seats natin, yung mga materials na needed doon, and sa ating furniture, yung mga kahoy na kailangan doon. Okay, one of the inventories of a manufacturing company na kailangan po nila is yung tinatawag po nating raw materials inventory, kasi yan po yung tinatransform natin as completed goods. We also have work in process inventory, which are items that are currently in the process of production. So hindi pa siya tapos pero papunta na siya doon, patapos na siya, okay? Pag sinabi pong work in process inventory, from the phrase itself, work in process, it is still in process. Okay? And then, lastly, we also have yung tinatawag po nating finished goods inventory. These are items that are completed in the production process and are held for sale in the ordinary course of business. So, tapos na ng production, ready for sale na siya, bebenta na natin. And if manufacturing is our main line of revenue generating activity, syempre dyan tayo kumikita sa ating mga finished goods inventory. So yan po yung three kinds of inventory sa manufacturing operations po natin. Okay. So always remember the three components of product cost as discussed in lecture 2. So we have your direct materials, which are the materials that are used in production to be transformed as finished goods, and then your labor na mga pinapasahod po natin sa ating mga trabahador or laborers para po ma-transform yung materials into finished goods. And then syempre meron po tayong manufacturing overhead or lahat po ng ating mga indirect cost na hindi man po directly traceable dun sa product, siya po ay kailangan pa rin natin nagastusin para ma-complete yung ating mga products. So, putting it very, very simply, manufacturing overhead po yung ating pong mga indirect costs. So, direct materials plus direct labor plus manufacturing overhead is equals to your total manufacturing cost. Okay. Please say hello to our new account titles na kailangan nyong makilala. So may mga bagong T-accounts po tayo na kailangang malaman. In your basic accounting, marunong naman na po tayo mag-journalize, post, trial balance, adjustments until we create financial statements. In manufacturing perspective, it's actually just the same. It's just that we need to be acquainted with these new account titles. The first one is the raw materials inventory. Ano po yung mga items na nakakadagdag at nakakabawas sa raw materials inventory account? Siyempre, sa debits po, yung kanyang mismong beginning balance. Pagka naman po tayo ay bumili ng raw materials para gamitin in the future, ide-debit po natin din yon sa raw materials inventory. Okay? Kaso, paano po pag yung purchases na yan, meron na ipadala sa atin na inferior quality of materials, o kaya defective, o kaya mali yung kulay, mali yung size. So, syempre, tatanggalin po natin sa raw materials inventory, kine-credit po natin. Nagkakaroon po ng return of inferior materials to supplier. So, credit po yon sa raw materials inventory. Okay, and then syempre naman po, kapag gagamitin na po natin yung raw materials sa production, i-issue na po natin sa production. Mawawala na po siya sa raw materials inventory. Kasi nga po, nilagay mo na sa production, wala na po siya sa warehouse. Pero, in any case naman po na sobra yung na-issue natin sa production at meron po tayong kailangang ibalik na materials, ang ilalagay lang po natin is ide-debit po natin siya uli sa raw materials inventory, the return of excess raw materials from production. So, perform all debits and all credits po, magkakaroon po tayo ng ending balance ng raw materials inventory. Say hello din po sa ating account title na factory salaries and wages. So, lahat po ng pasahod po natin sa ating mga trabahador sa factory ay nire-recognize po natin as a debit to the factory salaries and wages account. Pero, pag ia-apply na po natin sa production yung payroll na yan, ay i-credit na po siya natin sa factory salaries and wages. Kasi nga po, kailangan niya nang mawala sa account na yan dahil meron na po tayong bagong account na paglalagyan to recognize po yung cost po ng labor na chinarge natin sa production. Okay, so later on, malalaman niyo po saan napupunta yung factory salaries and wages. Say hello din po sa manufacturing overhead. Okay, sabi nga po sa inyo, ang manufacturing overhead po ay mga all other cost or indirect cost na hindi man po directly traceable sa product, kailangan pa rin po natin sila para makapag-produce ng products. Okay. So, ang examples po nun is indirect materials, indirect labor, and then yung binabayaran po nating utilities sa factory, or kung hindi po tayo ang may-ari ng facilities, nirerentahan po natin, and then insurance po natin sa factory, and yung depreciation po natin sa factory machines and equipment. Ngayon po, habang na-incur po natin lahat ng cost na ito, nilalagay po natin lahat ng actual overhead incurred sa debit side ng manufacturing overhead. But once we already applied it in production, tatanggalin na po natin siya sa manufacturing overhead para po mag-effect na yung cost ng overhead sa production. We have two kinds po. We have actual costing. Pag sinabi pong actual costing, kung ano po yung actual overhead na nandito sa debit side, yun po yung ina-apply natin sa production. Pagka naman po sinabing normal costing, gumagamit po tayo ng tinatawag nating predetermined overhead rates. What is the reason for a company to use a predetermined overhead rate? In reality, it's impracticable for a manufacturing company to wait for all of these overhead accounts to be incurred. Hindi na mahihintay ng manufacturing company na hintayin pa isa-isa itong mga amounts na ito kasi kailangan natin agad ng cost information para magamit na po natin sa decision making, kailangan na natin sa pricing para mas mabilis yung ating proseso sa ating decision making at sa pag-decide for prices, no? So those are the examples kung saan po natin ginagamit yung cost information. So gumagamit po tayo ng tinatawag nating predetermined overhead rates na kahit hindi pa po available yung information ng actual overhead, meron na po tayong na-apply na overhead sa production. Okay? So meron po tayong problem dedicated sa normal costing, but for the meantime, let us first focus na ang lahat ng actual overhead po na na-incur ng manufacturing company is yun din po yung i-apply natin sa production. Later in the video na lang po tayo mag-normal costing. Say hello din po sa work-in-process inventory. Sabi nga po natin, the work-in-process inventory is the account na nag-hold po ng lahat ng hindi pa po nating tapos na production process. Kaya nga po siya in process. So, syempre, it starts with the beginning balance. And then, kapag ka po nag-issue na tayo ng materials to production, sa debit din po sa work in process yon. Pag nag-issue na rin po tayo ng labor, dun din po yon as a debit to work in process. And syempre, yung in-apply natin sa production na manufacturing overhead. And then, meron din po tayong mga different credits. Okay? So, tingnan po natin ngayon yung interrelationships ng work in process inventory sa iba-ibang T accounts na pinresent ko sa inyo kanina. First one, dito sa raw materials. Kapag ka po nag-issue tayo sa production ng raw materials, tinatanggal na natin sa raw materials inventory, dinadala na natin sa work in process. Pero kapag ka naman po magbabalik tayo ng excess raw materials, ilalagay uli natin sa raw materials inventory, tatanggalin natin sa work in process. Paano naman po sa factory salaries and wages? Sabi nga po natin, when we recognize factory payroll, it's debit. Paano naman po pag i-charge na natin siya sa production? So, pag charge na po natin sa production, doon na po siya mapupunta as a debit to the work in process inventory. Paano naman po kapag ka may indirect labor? Pag may indirect labor, charge po natin siya sa manufacturing overhead, hindi po sa direct labor. Kasi nga po, indirect labor. And as you know, ang indirect labor po ay kasama sa overhead. Remember, ang overhead po, lahat ng indirect cost. Paano naman po sa manufacturing overhead? So, sabi nga po natin, lahat ng actual overhead ay nasa debit. Paano naman po yung i-apply natin sa production? Ika-credit natin sa manufacturing overhead, ilalagay na natin sa production. Debit to work in process inventory. And then, we also have yung tinatawag po nating finished goods inventory. Yan na po yung inventory ng mga natapos nating produkto na ready for sale. Okay? Ano ngayon ang relationship niya sa work in process inventory? Pag ang products ay natapos na po natin sa proseso, the cost of goods that are completed will be now transferred to the finished goods inventory. So, tatanggalin na po natin siya sa work in process inventory account. Ilalagay na po natin siya sa finished goods inventory. The cost of goods completed coming from the work in process account, ilalagay na natin as a debit sa finished goods inventory. And also, say hello to the cost of goods sold. Actually, yung cost of goods sold account, kasi po naka-perpetual inventory system po tayo sa ating mga examples. Okay? So, dinedebit po natin lahat ng cost of goods from FGI na nabenta natin. So, kapag nakapagbenta na po tayo ng produkto, tatanggalin po natin sa finished goods inventory and we will now present it properly as cost of goods sold. So, yan po yung flow ng cost ng ating different account titles and their interrelationships with each other. Now that you now understand the interrelationships of these accounts with each other, it's time now for us to solve a problem. Jejet Manufacturing Company has the following beginning balances for the month of April 2020. We have beginning balance of raw materials inventory of 21,000, work in process inventory of 89,000 and finished goods inventory of 189,000. Assuming we will be using the actual costing system and the perpetual inventory system for the transactions for April 2020, magre-record po tayo ng transactions using journal entries, and then magle-ledger postings po tayo sa T accounts. Pero tingnan nyo po yung nakalagay sa problem, relevant T accounts. So hindi na po natin ipapakita yung mga T accounts na normal na sa atin, like cash, accounts receivable, and accounts payable. Okay? Doon na lang po tayo magfo-focus sa accounts na relevant sa production process. And syempre, gagawa po tayo ng statement of cost of goods manufactured and sold. Okay, if you're ready, let's start. Transaction A, purchased 5,000 units of raw materials at 35 pesos per unit on account. Simple lang po yan. 5,000 ang biniling raw materials, 35 pesos isa. You simply multiply 5,000 times 35. The entry would be debit raw materials inventory dahil nagkaroon ka ngayon ng raw materials amounting to 175,000. Credit po natin sa accounts payable kasi nga po on account yung transaction, 175,000. Your T account for raw materials inventory will now look like this. Your beginning balance of 21,000, nadagdagan pa po ng purchase na 175,000. I suggest gawa na po kayo ng mga T accounts for raw materials, for factory payroll, for manufacturing overhead, and then for work in process and finished goods, para po nasusundan nyo yung posting din natin. Kasi sinasabay ko na po yung journal entry tsaka posting para mas lalo nyong maintindihan yung flow ng cost from the different account titles. Okay. Next po. Returned 100 units of raw materials to the supplier due to inferior quality. Binalik po natin, mawawala sa raw materials at mababawasan din po yung utang natin kay supplier. Debit accounts payable for 3,500 and credit raw materials inventory for 3,500. Your T account for raw materials would look like this. Nagkaroon po ngayon ng credit na 3,500 to signify na nagkaroon po tayo ng materials return. Dinerecho na po natin sa raw materials inventory, hindi po sa purchase returns and allowances kasi po ito po ay perpetual inventory system. Transaction C. Issued all beginning balance of raw materials and 1,000 units of newly purchased materials to production. Ready na po tayong magumpisa ng production process for April 2020. Ang sabi daw po, ang nilagay sa production, lahat daw po ng raw materials na naiwan at the start of the accounting period and kumuha pa po ng 1,000 units dun sa kabibili pa lang natin. So, transforming it quantitatively, ito po yun. So, from the beginning balance, meron po tayong beginning balance ng raw materials na 21,000 and then gumamit na daw po tayo ng 1,000 units nung bagong bili natin and 35 pesos po yun isa, di ba? 35,000. So, yung materials na pinasok na po natin sa production para maumpisahan na siya is 56,000. Since it's now issued to production, anything that you issue to production will be debited to the work in process inventory, which is 56,000, and then tatanggalin na po natin siya sa raw materials inventory na 56,000. Your T accounts will now look like this. Yung raw materials inventory po natin nabawasan na ng 56,000 worth of supplies na pinasok natin sa production. Pero nilagay na po natin siya sa work in process inventory na 56,000. Ano po yung 89,000 dito? Yan po yung beginning balance ng work in process inventory. Okay? Galing po yan sa previous period na syempre hanggang ngayong period na to hindi pa tapos. Pero syempre ine-expect natin at this period matatapos na natin siya. Okay? So yung work in process natin nadagdagan na siya ng 56,000. Transaction D. 50 units of excess materials were returned to storage. So, sumobra daw po ng 50 units yung na-issue sa production. Hindi nagamit, babalik natin sa storage. Okay? So, simply debit raw materials inventory for 50 units times 35, which is 1,750. And then, credit work in process inventory, tatanggalin dapat natin siya dun sa production. Okay? So, yung ating raw materials inventory ngayon, babalik yung 1,750 and then mawawala siya sa production, 1,750. Okay? Transaction E. Paid salaries to factory employees, maintenance staff, and supervisors, payroll details of which are as follows. Gross pay nila is 322,000 pero syempre babawasan natin sila ng SSS, PhilHealth, Pag-ibig contributions and withholding taxes. Ang mare-receive lang nilang net pay is 297,970. Sa production process, medyo hindi po natin concern yung ibabayad natin sa SSS, PhilHealth, Pag-ibig, withholding tax kasi operationally kailangan talaga yan eh. And then ang mare-receive ng lahat ng empleyado from that is 297,970. Ang concern po natin sa factory payroll is yung mismong gross pay. Okay? Again, ang concern po natin sa manufacturing process is yung mismong gross pay. All others, yan po ay operational na lang. Okay? In nature. So, your entry will now be debit to factory salaries and wages of 322,000 and then payable natin to government agencies and to yung statutory contributions natin rather, which is your SSS, PhilHealth, Pag-ibig, and withholding taxes. Credit to cash po sa naibayad natin sa mga empleyado. Okay? So, your T account for factory salaries and wages would now be debited na merong 322,000. Transaction F, applied factory payroll to production. So, i-recognize na po natin ngayon na yung mga pinasahod natin sa ating mga trabahador is part of the production process para maging product cost na siya. Ngayon, ang sabi, 70% daw po ng mga pinasahod natin are direct laborers and 30% daw po ng mga pinasahod natin ay indirect laborers or mga maintenance staff and supervisors na although hindi directly related sa production, kailangan pa rin sila dun sa factory. Okay? So, i-allocate natin. Direct laborers po natin is yung total factory payroll kanina na 322,000 times 70%. Ang attributable sa direct labor is 225,400. Ang attributable naman po sa indirect labor ay 30%, 96,600. Okay? So, your entry would be debit work in process inventory for the direct labor of 225,400. And then, sabi po sa inyo, lahat ng indirect cost, pinapasok po natin sa manufacturing overhead. So, yung indirect labor po natin na 96,600 sa manufacturing overhead po natin i-record. And then, tatanggalin na po natin siya sa factory salaries and wages. So, your work in process inventory will now look like this. Ito yung beginning balance, ito yung materials na binalik sa storage, ito na po, ni-recognize na po natin yung direct labor for this period. Okay? Yung manufacturing overhead naman po natin, ito yung indirect labor na 96,600 and then yung factory salaries and wages po natin na i-close na natin kasi nalagay na po natin sa production. Pero assuming na one time lang silang magbabayad ng salary for that month. Kung twice, depende na po sa company yon. Okay? Pero itong problem na po ito, let's just assume that for that month, bayad na sila for the whole month. Kaya isang transaction lang po yung meron tayo sa pagpapasahod sa kanila. Okay? Sige po, diretso tayo. Transaction G, paid 6,000 for maintenance of factory machinery. Tingnan nyo po mabuti kung product cost or period cost siya. Since it is a machinery in the factory, that is still a product cost. Okay? So, you debit manufacturing overhead for the indirect cost of maintaining, no? Yung ating factory machinery, 6,000. Credit cash, 6,000. That is a that is a product. Product cost. Okay? So, ang manufacturing overhead natin, nagkaroon na po ng susunod niyang laman. Ito po yung indirect labor. Ito naman po yung maintenance ng factory machinery. Transaction H, incurred 4,000 pesos for maintenance of office equipment on account. Oops, tingnan mabuti. Office equipment. Yan po ay product cost o period cost. Since this is an administrative in nature kasi opisina, di ba? It's not related to production. So, idediretso po natin sa repairs and maintenance expense yung kinasanayan po nating account title na pang operating expense po natin as part of our normal expenses sa office. Okay? So, debit repairs and maintenance expense for 4,000 and credit accounts payable for 4,000. I will not be showing you the T account for repairs and maintenance expense because that is a normal operating expense already. Okay, next is transaction letter I. Paid factory utilities of 89,000 and office utilities of 72,000. So, yung atin daw pong mga ilaw, tubig, ano pa bang bill? Mga telephone bills, sa factory daw po, 89,000. Sa opisina naman, 72,000. So, ang gagawin po natin is, yung factory utilities natin, ipapasok natin sa manufacturing overhead, which is 89,000. Yung sa office utilities naman po, that is a normal operating expense. So, that is now a period cost. Utilities expense, 72,000. Pero syempre, binayaran natin, diretso po natin sa cash for 161,000. So, utilities expense, di ko na po papakita yung T-account niyan kasi normal operating expense po yan. Pero yung manufacturing overhead nyo po, ito na ngayon yung laman. Yung indirect labor, yung maintenance kanina, and ito na po yung manufacturing overhead natin due to factory utilities. Transaction J. Recognize adjustments for the following. So, syempre may adjusting entries pa din. Na-expire na daw po yung insurance ng factory asset. So, naging insurance expense na siya, 2,000. Naging insurance expense na rin po yung office space natin, ang 2,500. And then, i-recognize na po natin yung depreciation sa factory, machinery, and depreciation for office equipment. Isa-isahin po natin. Yung insurance sa factory ay product cost kasi factory asset. Pero yung insurance sa office space, period cost, operating expense. Yung depreciation ng factory machinery natin, product cost kasi sa factory. Pero yung depreciation ng office equipment natin, normal operating expense. So, ang entry natin, ganito na po ang itsura. Yung insurance natin sa factory assets na 2,000 at yung depreciation ng factory machinery na 6,000, ang total niya is 8,000 na ilalodge na po natin sa manufacturing overhead. Yung 2,500 na office insurance, that is a normal operating expense, debit po natin yung account title na talagang ginagamit natin for that, insurance expense. Tapos yung depreciation po natin for office equipment, 4,500. Now, nagkakaroon na lang po tayo ng variations ngayon sa mga debits. Pero sa credit, ganun pa rin po. Tingnan nyo, kine-credit na po natin yung prepaid insurance, both for factory and for office, for the expired portion of the prepaid insurance. And then, ganun pa rin po ang ating credit accumulated depreciation, both for the factory machinery and for the office equipment. Ano na po ang itsura ngayon ng T-account natin ng manufacturing overhead? Ito yung indirect labor, ito yung maintenance, ito po yung kaninang utilities, and then ito na po yung ating factory assets na 2,000 at saka depreciation ng factory machinery na 6,000. Transaction K. Actual overhead applied to production. So, lahat daw po ng na-incur nating overhead, nilagay na natin sa production. Okay? So, ito po yung mga overhead natin kanina pa na dinadebit natin sa manufacturing overhead account. Indirect labor of 96,600. Maintenance of factory machinery na 6,000. Factory utilities of 89,000. Insurance of factory assets na 2,000. And depreciation ng factory machinery na 6,000 for a total actual overhead of 199,600. The entry would be debit work in process inventory 199,600. Then credit po natin sa manufacturing overhead 199,600. Ano na po ang itsura ngayon ng work in process inventory account? Ito na po yung materials, yung 56,000 minus 1,750 kasi binalik natin yan sa warehouse or sa storage, yung mga materials na yan. And then labor natin, direct labor is 225,400 and yung overhead natin na 199,600. So, yung current production cost natin, kompleto na. Kasi nandito na yung materials, nandito na yung labor, nandito na yung overhead. Okay? And then, ang itsura naman po ng ating manufacturing overhead, tinanggal na po natin yung applied overhead na 199,600. Okay? So, na-zero na po natin yung manufacturing overhead kasi in-apply na po natin siya sa production. Letter L, all beginning work in process and 50% of the current production is completed. Congratulations! Natapos na daw po natin lahat nung hindi pa natin natapos na work in process, and then natapos din daw po natin this period kalahati ng current production. Paano po natin kukumputin yan? Remember, meron po tayong beginning balance na work in process na 89,000. Tapos, ano po ba yung materials, labor, and overhead na naka-charge ngayon sa work in process account that represents our current production? Materials po is yung 56,000 pero ibabawas nyo po yung binalik natin sa storage. So, it will now become 54,250. And then, yung direct labor po natin na 225,400 and yung overhead na ni-recognize natin na in-apply natin sa production which is 199,600 for a total of 479,250. Yun nga lang po, ito pong charge natin sa production, kalahati lang daw po yung natapos. Okay? Which is equal to 239,625. So, magkano po yung total cost of completed goods natin during the month? It's now 328,625. Coming from the beginning work in process na natapos na natin ngayon and ito pong mga current production cost na nilagay natin. Okay? So, the total is 328,625. The entry will now be debit finished goods inventory. Lalagay na natin siya sa finished goods kasi tapos na siya. And then credit work in process inventory. Tatanggalin natin sa work in process kasi hindi na siya in process. Tapos na siya. Anong itsura ng T-accounts ngayon? Yung work in process inventory mo, tinanggal na natin yung 328,625. So, pwede mo nang i-rule and balance yung T-accounts mo. At ang ating ending balance of work in process inventory is now 239,625. Then yung finished goods inventory mo, magkakaroon na ng laman na 328,625. Saan po galing yung 189,000? Yan po yung beginning balance ng finished goods inventory. Transaction M, sold all beginning finished goods inventory and 40% of recently completed units at 50% markup based on cost on account. Paano po natin ika-quantify yan? Yung beginning finished goods daw po natin, naibenta na natin lahat ng naiwan pa nung start ng period. Tapos, yung recently completed goods po natin na 328,625, 40% daw po, congratulations, nabenta na natin, which is equal to 131,450. Yan na po yung ating cost of goods sold. Kasi yan po yung lahat ng cost ng goods na nabenta natin. Magkano daw po ang selling price? 50% markup based on cost. So, kung ang cost po natin ay 324.50, you simply multiply it to 1.5 para mapatungan na po siya ng 50% na markup. Our selling price is 480,625. The entry will now be debit accounts receivable, 480,675 kasi po on account. Credit sales of 480,675. Then, debit cost of goods sold, 324.50. Tatanggalin nyo na po siya sa finished goods inventory kasi nabenta nyo na siya. 320,450. Ano pong itsura ngayon ng T-account? Cost of goods sold now has yung nabenta po natin this period na 320,450 and yung finished goods inventory po natin ay nagkaroon ng credit entry na or credit posting na 320,450. Okay? Pwede nyo na pong i-rule and balance. Ang ending balance ng finished goods inventory natin is 197,175. Letter N, paid marketing and advertising cost of 12,000 to promote the firm's products. This is just simply a normal operating expense kasi tayo po ay nagpo-promote ng ating mga produkto. So, hindi na po ito related sa product cost. You simply debit marketing expense as part of your normal operating expenses, 12,000, and credit cash for 12,000. Tapos na tayo sa journal entries. Pwede na tayo ngayon mag-posting. Actually, sinabay ko na nga yung posting, di ba? Habang nagjo-journal entries tayo. But as you know, in accounting, dapat nagjo-journalize muna tayo bago mag-post. So, assuming now na natapos nyo na rin yung posting nyo habang sinasabayan nyo ako sa discussion, ito na po yung ating mga T-accounts. Okay. Ngayon, pag ruled and balanced na po siya, pwede na tayong gumawa nung next step. Pero remember, bago po kayo mag-next step, i-take note nyo na po yung beginning and ending balance ng raw materials, beginning and ending balance ng work in process, at saka beginning and ending balance ng finished goods inventory and yung ating cost of goods sold. And then, i-check nyo rin po kung lahat po ba ng factory salary costs ay na-apply na sa production and properly allocated na on direct and indirect labor, and kung yung manufacturing overhead po ay properly assigned to production na din po siya. Okay? If all of your accounts are ready, then you can now prepare the statement of cost of goods manufactured and sold. Okay, so you create the heading, Gijet Manufacturing Company, Statement of Cost of Goods Manufactured and Sold for the month ended April 30, 2020. Okay, let's start. We start with raw materials inventory of 21,000. Ayun. Ayan, okay? Yan po yung pinaka-starting point. Magkanong materyales ang meron tayo at the start of the period? Susundan mo siya ng i-add mo daw po lahat ng net purchases mo ng raw materials. Kasi syempre, bumili ka ng materials during the period, i-add mo yon sa raw materials beginning mo. Remember, yung ating nangyari kanina, although meron tayong purchases na 175,000, nag-return tayo kay supplier ng 3,500 na inferior quality. Kaya po, ang ating raw materials net purchases ay 171,500 lamang. Okay? If this is your beginning raw materials inventory and this is your net purchases, ang tawag po sa lahat ng materials na pwede mong gamitin sa production is raw materials available for use, amounting to 192,500. Pinag-add lang po yung dalawa. Na 192,500, ibig sabihin po niyan, yan po lahat yung raw materials na pwedeng gamitin sa production process. Kaya nga po tinawag na available for use. Ngayon po, ang analysis natin ngayon is kung yung 192,500 yung materials na pwede kong gamitin, i-compare ko siya sa natirang raw materials at the end of the period. The raw materials inventory at the end of the period is ito po, yung 138,250. So now let's compare. Parang iisipin mo, kung ito ang raw materials na pwede kong gamitin at ito ang natira sa akin at the end of the period, ang difference niyan, ibig sabihin yun nagamit ko, which is your direct materials issued to production, 54,250. Saan po galing yan? Ito pong 56,000, but remember, meron tayong binalik sa storage na 1,750, yung sumobra. Okay? So, yan po yun. Yung direct materials issued to production. 56,000 minus 1,750. Direct material cost, 54,250. Siyempre, i-recognize na po natin yung labor cost na chinarge din po sa production. So, direct labor is 225,400. At syempre, hindi kumpleto ang magkakapatid kung wala ang manufacturing overhead. Ito po yun, yung 199,600. Ngayong kumpleto na po ang magkakapatid, materials, labor and overhead, pwede na po nating i-total. Yan na po yung ating total manufacturing cost na 479,250. Okay? Ito po yan, yung 56,000 minus yung binalik sa storage na materials and then yung direct labor natin na 225,400 at saka 199,600. Dapat po, pag kinompare nyo yung debits sa work in process inventory at yung total manufacturing cost, dapat papantay lang. Next, i-add po natin yung work in process at the beginning of the period. Ibig sabihin po kasi, 479,250 yung inumpisahan nating production ngayong period. Ito naman pong 89,000 yung naghihintay pang matapos. So, ang tawag po sa sum nung dalawang yan is the total cost of work put into process. Ibig sabihin, 568,250 po yung total cost ng work na currently nasa proseso pa. Saan po galing? Yung pinasok po natin ngayon sa production na 479,250 and yung naghihintay pang matapos at the beginning of the period na 89,000. Ito po yung lahat ng kailangan nating iproseso this period. Ngayon, i-compare natin siya. At the end of the period, magkano ang hindi pa tapos? Ito po yun. Yung 239,625. Sabi ng accounts mo, hindi pa tapos, worth 239,625. So, kung ang naghihintay matapos is 568,250 at ang hindi pa talaga tapos ay 239,625, ang difference nilang dalawa, yun tapos na. Which is, ang tawag po, cost of goods manufactured, 328,625. Alin po yan? Ito po yun, yung natapos na. Natapos na, kaya natin inalis sa work in process inventory kasi nilipat na natin ang finished goods inventory. Ngayon, i-add natin siya sa, yan po yun. Okay. I-add natin siya ngayon sa beginning finished goods inventory kasi kung ang 328,625 ay tapos na, at ang finished goods na naghihintay din na mabenta is 189,000. Ibig sabihin, itong natapos kong to at itong beginning balance ko ng finished goods naghihintay mabenta, lahat po yan ay available for sale. Pwedeng ibenta, amounting to 517,625. Kaso, at the end of the period, hindi pa po nabebentang produkto is worth 197,175. So, kung ang available for sale ay 517,625 at ang hindi pa natin nabebenta is 197,175, ibig sabihin ang nabenta natin is cost of goods sold 320,450. Paano nyo po malalaman kung tama ang inyong statement of cost of goods manufactured and sold? Siyempre, dapat nagtutugma po dapat itong statement na ito sa inyo pong T-accounts. And siyempre, yung endpoint po natin, dapat ganito ang itsura. Yung cost of goods sold po natin na 320,450 should be the credit to finished goods inventory. Kaya siya kinredit sa finished goods inventory kasi nabenta na siya. And it should have been the amount that you debited to cost of goods sold. Okay? So, pag pantay-pantay po yan, tatlong yan, wala kang problema. Ibig sabihin, perfect ka, correct ka. Okay? So, that's how you prepare the statement of cost of goods manufactured and sold. Okay, so yung pinag-usapan natin kanina na cost of goods manufactured and sold, for problem-solving purposes, kailangan nyo rin po ng mga formula for academic purposes naman. Okay? So, ito po. Always remember, raw materials inventory beginning, tas lahat ng binili natin is your raw materials available for use. Minus raw materials ending. Pagka po binigyan kayo ng information about indirect materials, ma-minus nyo po yun. Kasi ganito po ang sistema dyan. Pag lahat ng materials available for use, minus mo sa ending raw materials na hindi pa nagagamit. Automatically, direct materials kasi yon. Paano kung may indirect materials ka? Kailangan i-minus mo din para yung lalabas na direct materials mo, purong direct materials. Saan natin ngayon ilalagay yung indirect materials na to? O sige, mamaya natin pag-usapan. Pag meron ka ng direct materials, syempre, add mo na yung mga kapatid niya, si labor, tsaka si overhead to get your total manufacturing cost. O sir, saan na po itong indirect materials? Dapat nandito siya sa loob ng overhead. Remember, indirect materials is an indirect cost which should have been part of your overhead. Okay? So that is your total manufacturing cost. Then add po natin yung work in process beginning. That is your total cost of work put into process minus work in process ending. That is your cost of goods manufactured plus beginning balance of your finished goods. That is your cost of goods available for sale less finished goods inventory ending. That is your cost of goods sold. Then proceed tayo sa income statement na kinasanayan nyo na. Ito, alam nyo na to sa merchandising pa lang. Net sales, less cost of goods sold, gross profit, plus other income is all of your revenue, less operating expenses. So, nandito po lahat ng pinag-usapan natin na period cost kanina. Yung office depreciation, office utilities, insurance expired sa assets ng office, mga ganon. Okay? So, yun po. So, revenue minus expenses, net income before tax, less income tax expense, net income. Okay, bakit ko po binigay itong formula na to? Kasi, for problem solving purposes, minsan ang tanong sa inyo, nasa gitna. How much is the overhead? How much is the ending balance of work in process? How much is the cost of goods manufactured? So, yun nakasanayan yung technique. Pagpababa, follow the equation. Pagpataas, reverse the equation. Okay? So, pagpababa, kung ano yung ina-add nyo, a-add nyo. Kung ano yung mina-minus nyo, minus nyo. Kung paakyat, naman, kung ano yung mina-minus nyo, add nyo ngayon. Kung ano yung ina-add nyo, minus nyo siya ngayon. Awesome. Okay, so ngayon naman po, pag-usapan po natin yung tinatawag nating normal costing system. Kanina po, ang nangyari, kung ano po yung actual overhead, siya din po yung ina-apply sa production. Okay? Yun nga lang po kasi, in reality, yun nga po, sabi ko rin sa inyo kanina, hindi po kasi mahihintay ng company na ma-incur lahat ng ating overhead para i-charge siya sa production. So, ang nangyayari po sa atin sa normal costing, nagkakaroon po tayo ng tinatawag nating predetermined overhead rate. Meron na po tayong nakahandang multiplier para malaman kung magkano yung ia-apply nating overhead sa production kahit hindi pa natin alam yung actual overhead. Para i-discuss po yan, let's have this problem. Twain Company is a manufacturer and applies overhead to products on the basis of direct labor cost. At the beginning of the period, the current production process still unfinished carries the following cost: direct materials of 80,000, direct labor of 160,000, and overhead of 240,000. During the period, the following costs were incurred: traceable to production, direct materials of 356,000 and direct labor of 690,000, and not traceable to production, which includes your supplies, indirect labor, plant maintenance, depreciation of plant equipment, and other factory costs. The entity budgeted 640,000 as direct labor cost and 960,000 as factory overhead cost. We have 3 questions. How much is the current production's total manufacturing cost? And then, the overhead for the period is over or under applied, and how much is the cost of goods manufactured? If you're ready, let's start. Let's answer question number 1. How much is the current production's total manufacturing cost? Ano nga po uli ang components ng total manufacturing cost? Direct materials, direct labor, at saka po overhead. Okay? Kaso ang tinatanong po, current production. Asan po dito yung during the period? Ito. Ang binigay, materials na 356,000. Labor na 690. Sir, asan yung overhead? Okay, so let's solve it like this. The direct materials incurred during the production process is 356,000. The direct labor is 690,000. Remember na binigyan po kayo ng information about the entity's budgets. Okay, nag-budget daw sila. Ang kanilang nakikita ay ang mai-incur daw po na direct labor is 640,000 at ang overhead daw po 960,000. So let's do this analysis. Kung ang budgeted overhead po natin ay 960,000 at ang direct labor po natin ay 640,000, remember na sinabi po sa first sentence na ang overhead po ay kinukuha galing lang din daw po sa kung magkano yung direct labor mo on the basis of the direct labor. Ngayon, compare mo. If the budgeted overhead is 960,000 and the direct labor cost is 640,000, you try to divide. Ang lalabas is 1.5. Ibig sabihin, paano in-apply yung ating budgeted overhead cost? 640,000 times 1.5, 960,000. Again, 640,000 times 1.5, 960,000. So, i-apply na natin ngayon dito. Kung ang direct labor mo ay 690,000, magkano ngayon ang overhead mo? E di, 690,000 times your predetermined rate of 1.5. 1,035,000. Get the total of the magkakapatid, that is 2,081,000. Meron ba sa choices mo? May nakikita ka bang 2,081,000? Meron. Bianca. Letter B. And that is your solution for question number 1. Pwede nyo siyang i-screenshot para mapag-aralan nyo. Let's proceed to question number 2. Ang tinatanong naman po is over or under application ng overhead. Ano yun, sir? Okay. Kung matatandaan nyo po kanina yung T account natin sa overhead, yung left side, yung actual overhead incurred. Yung right side, yung applied overhead. Check natin kung ano yung mas mataas, yung actual overhead o yung applied overhead. So, ganito po kukunin natin. Binigay po dito lahat ng cost na not traceable. Supplies, indirect labor, maintenance, depreciation, other factory cost. So, ang gagawin po natin is, i-compare siya sa applied manufacturing overhead. Ang applied manufacturing overhead po natin kanina is yung direct labor cost na 690,000 multiplied by the application rate of 1.5. Ang lumabas po is 1,035,000. I-compare po natin siya sa actual. Ito po yung actual, nilista na natin. Ang total actual manufacturing overhead natin ay 918,000. So, i-compare natin. Applied, 1,035,000. Ang actual, 918. Okay? So, kunin natin yung difference. The overhead variance is 117,000. Nako, tumingin ka ngayon sa choices. May 117,000 dito, may 117,000 dito. Patay kang bata ka, nalito ka ngayon, hindi mo alam kung paano i-apply. When can you say that it's under-applied? And when can you say it's over-applied? I-compare nyo ngayon. Ang applied natin ay 1,035,000. Ang actual natin ay 918. Since applied is greater than your actual, it is over-applied. May nakikita ka bang 117,000 over-applied? Meron. Bianca. Letter B. Okay, take a screenshot of the solution and we proceed to question number 3. Number 3, how much is the cost of goods manufactured if the work-in-process inventory at the end of the period carries 120,000 materials and 240,000 labor? Cost of goods manufactured, balik ka dun sa mga binigay kong formula sa inyo. Pwede na nating umpisahan sa total manufacturing cost natin kanina, 2,081,000. Okay? Ano nga pong ina-add natin sa total manufacturing cost para makuha yung total cost of work put into process? Siyempre, yung beginning nating work in process. Saan po natin kukunin yung beginning balance ng work in process? Hindi man expressly sinabi sa problem, pero mababasa nyo siya in between the sentence. Okay? At the beginning of the period, the current production process still unfinished carries the following cost. Ayan, no? Carries the following cost na still unfinished. Ito yun. So, materials natin, 80,000. Labor natin, 160,000. Overhead natin, 240,000. And actually, guys, you can try this. 160,000 times overhead application rate of 1.5, ang lalabas 240,000. Okay? So, that is 480,000 beginning balance of work in process. Pagatin nyo po yung dalawa, that is your cost of work put into process. 2,561,000. Less ending work in process inventory. Paano po kunin yan? Sinabi po ba sa problem? Okay. Sinabi sa problem, nandito sa given, sa question. Ang materials daw po natin ay 120,000 at ang 240,000 naman po natin ay labor. Sir, nasan yung overhead? Remember, naka-normal costing tayo. So, kung ano man yung direct labor mo, i-multiply mo lang sa application rate natin na 1.5, which is 360,000. So, get the total, 720,000 ang ating ending balance ng work in process. So, total cost of work put in the process, less work in process ending, that is your cost of goods manufactured, 1,841,000. May nakikita ka ba sa choices na 1,841,000? Meron, Bianca. Okay? Letter B. Sir, ba't hindi pa tayo nag-compute ang cost of goods sold? Hindi muna kasi dahil naka-normal costing tayo, meron po kasing effect yung over or under applied overhead sa cost of goods sold. Okay? So, hindi muna natin siya ngayon i-discuss. Again, remember, meron pong effect sa cost of goods sold ang over or under applied overhead. I-discuss po natin siya sa chapter ng accounting for factory overhead. Ano pong ginagawa natin sa actual and applied overhead. Okay, so I hope that you learned so much in this lesson, and our next lesson is accounting for materials. We will now be focusing po sa materials that are being used in the production process. Again, please like, share, and subscribe to Sir Chua's Accounting Lessons PH and hit the notification bell button to alert you of the latest video lessons. For all of your questions, comments, and suggestions, please put them down in the comment section below. And for webinar and speakership invites, please send me a message at kevintroy.chua1994@gmail.com. Maraming salamat po sa inyong pakikinig, sa inyong suporta, and for trusting Sir Chua for your accounting lessons. This has been Sir Chua's Accounting Lessons PH College Edition. To God be all the glory, honor, and praise. Purihin ang Panginoon. Hallelujah. Maraming salamat po. Thank you and have a great day.